Good afternoon. Welcome to the Wednesday afternoon meeting. I think we have Katrina, we're allowing you to move up and go first. You want to do that?
Yes. Hi, I am Katrina from the Sheriff's Office. I don't think I've met either of the new commissioners. I'm the Budget and Finance Manager for Brad over here. And we have a request. The county policy for getting a credit card is for full-time employees only. And we have a part-time animal control officer that we're hiring. And he will be filling in for our other officers when they're on vacation. He'll be working at night. And they use their credit cards on a pretty regular basis after hours. And so it sounds like we would need the commissioner's approval on record that it would be okay for this part-time employee to be considered to have a credit card.
Well, I understand these are like when they take an animal in, sometimes they need to pick up something.
Yeah,
Whatever, to take
food,
care of the animal.
blankets, yeah, take them to the vet and pay something at the vet, different kinds of things like that. They have a $1,500 limit, so it's not like they can use a lot. All of our deputies carry a credit card too for taking care of things on the scene. But it's a part-time employee, and the policy says that only full-time employees can have one.
Does this cover gas in a vehicle or anything else besides just miscellaneous charges for an animal?
It could be if you were out in Tootle where they don't have our gas cards that are through the Public Works Department, they might have to fill their car up and use their gas card to get gas in their rig. But usually they try to do that in town if they can, but sometimes you're just out in Cougar or someplace far where you do have to use that to fill your vehicle up.
Okay.
Any problem with it? Yeah,
I don't.
I think we're fine with that, Katrina.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully I'll get to meet you sometime here in one of these meetings.
Okay.
Thanks for bringing me to the first of the meeting. Have a good day.
You too. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Okay, Susan.
All right, good afternoon, Susan Eugenis, County Engineer. I'm going to start today with going through all of our agenda items for next week since Monday is a holiday. So I was going to run through those. I'm going to start with the easiest normal ones and work to the unusual ones. So there are 5 easements on the consent agenda, all for the Dyke Road project. There's temporary and permanent from the various landowners across that project. The next item, did you have questions? I tend to go too fast, sorry.
You're doing fine.
The next item is the contract execution for the Tower Road water main and the Juanita Way booster pump station. We just awarded this on January 21st to Rachi, who was a low bidder of just over 1.5 million, which is well below the engineer's estimate. So they have executed their side of the contract, and we're bringing that one forth for execution. The next item that's also fairly easy is the contract closeout for the Hazeldale Road slide repair. So that was one of the projects we completed last fall. They installed a retaining wall along Hazeldale Road. It's a soldier pile wall with tiebacks. They closed out the project at about $30,000 below the bid for minor changes in quantity. So this is one of those unusual contracts. There were no change orders. We actually came in below the bid amount. Okay, now we're getting more complicated and you're more likely to have questions. So the next item is the Tootle Wastewater Treatment Plant Improvement Project bid award. So we opened that project last Wednesday. There were 8 bidders. The low bidder was Tapani, and their bid was $1,584,213.15. That was about $92,000 below the engineer's estimate. The next 3 bidders, or the next 2 bidders, so the top 3 bidders were all below the engineer's estimate, and the next 2 bidders were within $75,000 of Tapani. So we're confident that this is a good price. Both the engineer and Public Works have worked with Tapney in the past, so we were pleased to see them getting the award. This project is one of our ARPA projects, and we're doing miscellaneous improvements within the plant, replacing older equipment, adding a flow meter, and adding an emergency generator.
What was the estimated completion date on that?
So depending on lead time,
Right.
we're looking at the majority of the items being complete in the fall. Potentially, the lead time on the generator and some of the electric controls may push us into early 2026.
Okay.
They're doing a lot of work up here these days. They're out in
Yes.
Castle Rock. They got a couple projects up in Winlock, which is Lewis County. This one out here.
Susan, typically, why is there such a differential in the bids? Sometimes, like right now, it sounds like they're pretty much in line, but some of them I've heard they're, $700,000-800,000 difference. What do we know why that is?
It varies from project to project. So on this particular project, it could be the cost of the generator. It varies. Some contractors are more familiar with the area so that they know that, for instance, one of the items that there's a $30,000 difference is crust surfacing base rock. There is a pit up on Tower Road, so the contractors who work up here know that, so they can charge a little less than they usually would for rock because the transportation is less. So transportation will roll into it. It varies. Some of them, it's the subs that they get bids from. I'm just glancing through this to see what other items. There's a big difference on the items.
When we put out a request for bid, do the contractors have the opportunity to ask questions and clarify certain things so that everybody is on the same page?
So yes, during the bid process, when we go out for bids, they're generally 3 weeks bid time, and we do get contractor questions. And actually, in this case, we got quite a few questions, and so we did issue an addenda, which was a clarification addenda, and then one minor change based on the questions that we received. We had a lot of questions about what the chlorine level was in this particular chamber because they were trying to figure out what kind of paint coating they needed to use. We got questions about what the plate on one of the old electrical devices was. So we sent out a clarifying addenda with answers to the questions that we had given to the various contractors so that it was a fair playing field. Some jobs, not this one, but actually the Juanita and Toutle pump station project, they did do a job walk, and they do that on some projects too, where the contractors can come and walk the job site and ask questions of the engineer while on site.
I'm good.
Me too.
All right, the next one, which I'm sure I'm going to have lots of questions on. So it's amendment number 2 to the Toutle wastewater treatment plant improvements contract with Gibson Olson, who's the design engineer for this project. The amendment is in the amount of $211,000. We have requested, due to our schedule of construction this summer, and because our inspectors, as one of them told me, I'm a dirt man, I'm not a mechanical man. This is not their normal type of work. They're used to inspecting roads and things like that. So we have requested that they have one of their inspectors doing the on-site inspections during the duration of the project. So the $211,000 will get us daily inspections, while for the duration of the contract, it'll give us review of all the engineering submittals that come in. Generally, you can expect 10 to 15% of your construction cost to be reflected in your inspection cost. And so that would be between $150,000 and $224,000. So this estimate is in line with that. All of the documents will still go through our construction manager and myself prior to bringing it to the board for approval. So we will still be involved, but we will not be the day-to-day inspector. So that is what we requested the consultant to do.
Who gets the day-to-day inspection reports?
They would be sent both to myself and the construction manager.
And do you review them on a daily basis, or is this a weekly thing that you go back and catch up and?
I do not review them on a day-to-day basis unless there's something unusual going on. The construction manager reviews them on the day-to-day basis. And if he sees something out of line, he will ask them first and then bring it to me if it's an issue he thinks we need to be discussing.
Okay.
Is that typical? Do we typically have these amendments at the end of the deal?
So we typically have an amendment that you'll see it on South Cloverdale project where they are doing they do submittal reviews, so like rebar reviews and some structural reviews. They do some on-site inspection, especially when it's a geotech specific. But it's not usually this big because usually we do all of the inspection, the day-to-day inspection ourselves. So we're usually getting a $25,000 to $50,000 amendment at the end, not this high of an amendment.
So that's for the duration of the project, which from start to finish is going to be about how long?
From start to finish, I believe this is about a 250-day contract.
Okay.
We retain Gibbs and Olson to help us
Yes.
on it. That's normal course of business. We do. And then probably in that retainage, there's a set scope that they kind of bid on and look at. And then when you have special projects, you bring those contracts to us like you're doing.
So this.
Yeah, something that's out of the norm.
Out of the norm, yes, but this particular project, they received a contract for this specific project. This is not one of under our as-needed contracts. But yes, we do retain them. I believe we retain them for a lot of water sewer services. But this is a standalone contract that
So
we went out.
standalone.
Yes.
And is this just something that we didn't foresee when we had issued the initial contract, that we weren't going to be able to manage that day-to-day inspection?
So it's a little of both. We didn't necessarily foresee that we were going to be quite this busy. And we knew that on this particular project, even more than the other water sewer projects, we would need more assistance because of the type of work that they're doing. There's a lot of electrical and mechanical work in this type of work. But it is typical for us to go out and get a design contract and then at the end come back with these amendments so that we both us and the engineer have more confidence on how many submittals they're going to have to review and how long the duration of the project is. So this is typical for us not to get this during the design.
This particular project, how's it being paid for?
This is ARPA money with a small amount
ARPA
from,
money?
yeah.
So when we have these amendments, does part of that come out of ARPA? Or is this all on the county?
It can come out of ARPA. It is eligible.
So it's still eligible to come out?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the last item I have is something that we don't do very often, but to meet our construction schedule this year, we're having a call for bids included on your agenda on Tuesday to purchase the culvert for the Garlock Road project based on the timeline where we are in the year. So we are we're in February, and I printed it out. Let me find it. If we don't order the material in the next month and a half, we will not make the fish window because you can only work in the stream on this project from July 16th through September 30th. So Roger, who's the engineer on this project, worked a timeline for ordering the equipment. So if we go out to bid next week and then we open the bids the early March, so it has down here March 11th, then we can award it on the 25th. We approve the materials in mid-April. And then based on the timeline of talking to Contact, who's one of the manufacturers of this type of materials, it would be delivered to the site on July 30th. So would hit a couple weeks into the window. He also worked through what the schedule is going to be for the construction contract. So at this point, we are looking at going out for a call for bid the second week of March. With the duration of the advertising, opening bids, awarding, executing contract, the construction contract would not start construction until June 30th. And with that timeline, we would not meet ordering and receiving the arch in time to do construction this summer. So after much discussion, because I don't like doing it this way, because there's some coordination issues, and it's never happened to us, but I've heard to other counties where they have one contractor going, no, it was a supplier, and the supplier going, no, it was a contractor. So that's why we try and avoid doing this. But we do have this set up that it would be delivered directly to the site. And when we go out for bid for the actual construction, it will be included in there. You shall coordinate with the vendor of accepting delivery onto the site. And this contract includes the material person to come up with the procedures for installing it. This is a plate arch structure, how they're going to install it, and having a certified person on site during installation.
Who sets the parameters for when we can't work?
Within the water, that would be Fish and Wildlife. Each stream has a slightly different fish window, and it's based on when the fish runs occur and when the fish are spawning. I did do a little research because I know we've had a lot of questions on this particular project. The existing structure is a 10-foot span, 8-foot rise concrete box that was built in the early 50s. So it's a 75-year life. So we are approaching end of life on this particular structure. The project is expected to open 1.88, according to the report I read, miles of habitats to the next partial barrier. And looking on Fish and Wildlife site, they have listed of runs in this particular stream. Chinook is presumed because it goes up to the mouth of Delameter Creek. Chum is also presumed. Coho is documented spawning within this creek, and Steelhead has documented spawning and documented presence. In addition, this culvert will flood the roadway on an extreme event. So by extreme event, that's like every 20, 25 years. It's not something we deal with regularly. This project is being paid with Brian Abbott Fish Barrier Removal Board money. So that's a 15% match of county funds. So 85% is paid by them, and procuring the materials this way is eligible.
What's the size of the new opening? We'll make sure we get Nemo and Shamu through there.
Well, it's that seal. Remember, we had the seal, what was it, 4 years ago in the road on Garlock that the sheriff had to go deal with? It was by this culvert.
Somebody dropped it off.
I don't have that number in front of me, but I will make sure I have
Okay.
it on Tuesday.
Don't lose sleep over it.
Susan, you mentioned the lifespan of it.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that we give things lifespans and expired dates and all that kind of stuff, but it physically, do we go and inspect it and say, you know what, this thing actually could go another 20 years?
So in this particular case, we do not inspect it annually. It is a short span bridge. So a short span bridge is anything that's above 6 feet and under 20 feet. And then anything over 20 feet is a full bridge. So a full bridge, we inspect every other year. We're required to inspect them every 24 months. So staff does go out and inspect those every 24 months. These short spans, if they are in the area, they will stop by and inspect them, but it is not on our regular rotation. If somebody remembers when they're out inspecting one of the bridges on Delameter, oh, let's go down to Garlock and see how that structure is, we will check them, but these are not checked on a regular basis. Public Works is in the, every summer with the summer help, we have been going out and rating the condition of all of our culverts. So all of our 12-inch to 20 foot spans, we are documenting their location in GIS, and there's a rating system that they are using to rate the culverts. So we have a better idea of where everything is in their lifespan. Concrete does last longer than corrugated metal pipe. There are restrictions. We are bound by Fish and Wildlife rules on what we can and cannot do. For example, I guess it was 2 years ago on Green Mountain Road and Cloverdale, a box truck slid down the hill, took out one side of guardrail, took out the other side of guardrail, crossed over Cloverdale, and went off the embankment and knocked the end of the culvert off. It was in good enough shape that we were just going to put it back on as a repair. Fish and then slip line, which is an easy fix for these, but Fish and Wildlife said you cannot slip line that because it's a barrier to fish. So if you're going to touch the radius, you're going to have to fix the whole pipe. So we just stuck that end on and moved on. So because that particular culvert is not a problem culvert for us. It's concrete, it's not in that bad a shape, so we just moved on to other places. We do look at their condition. You hear about me doing fish culverts all the time, and I'm using the fish barrier removal board money to leverage our money. This is not the worst culvert in the county. But this culvert is one that they will pay for. So I'm getting this taken care of before it fails and trying to find ways to pay for the others. That is, I will tell you guys in all honesty, until you tell me to stop looking for fish barrier removal money to replace our older culverts, that is one of the things that we go after quite heavily, because that is where the money is right now. Fish barriers and safety money. And so those are the projects that we're looking at, trying to find funding sources.
So currently, the culvert's not a problem, you're just being proactive because of the funding.
Yes.
So what's the new culvert made out of and what's its life expectancy?
So it'll be a pipe arch and it will also be 75 years. It's a steel plate arch. It's going to be open bottom on foundations. So the water for most of the year will not even be running on the physical culvert itself because of the stem walls we're building. So it'll be running on the concrete stem walls instead of the metal. When it's running high, it will hit the metal
Okay.
because it is going to be large enough to be a bridge. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's 22 feet.
Okay.
I don't like being wrong, so.
I'm not gonna hold you to it close enough.
Where does Brian Abbott Fish Funds come from? Is
Um,
it a federal thing or is it a state thing?
This is pure state money.
And it's already, can they redirect it or can they make a decision to pull it? It's sitting there, it's approved for this project, so it's dedicated there?
Yes, this is dedicated to this project. Brian Abbott Fish money comes directly from the state from various sources. This one, I'm not 100% sure where it comes from, but I know some projects come from the, I'm going to say some bad words here, Climate Commitment Act is where some of the funding came from, but not for this particular project because it was a high-ranked project and they get other state dedicated funds.
Gotcha. This culvert, if, in a worst case, just devil's advocate, if the funding went away for whatever reason, is this something we could use elsewhere?
The 15% match that we have?
Oh, no, the item we're buying.
Probably, we could,
Is it site specific to Garlock Road or can it be?
if we could find another location that Fish and Wildlife would accept the same span or something slightly smaller, then yes, we could use it somewhere else.
Any idea what you think they're gonna, what the call for bid, what's the estimate on that thing?
$190,000.
So it's a little different than when we bought the bridge and we can use the bridge for different places
Yes.
when we're not. Yeah. Okay.
All right, those were my long list of agenda items for the week. Thank you, gentlemen. I think Mike is up next. What?
Much different than last week, huh?
Oh, the list?
The
Yes,
list,
this
yeah.
was way shorter. It's just, we ebb and flow for some reason on how many projects we have. It all depends on when things come into the office and how fast we can push them out.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Y'all have a good afternoon.
You too. Get better.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. Weather events, so I guess it should say possible weather events. Sounds like we're going to continue our cold weather that we've had for a while with some moisture moving in tomorrow. From our forecast that we received at Public Works, we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches of snow during the daytime tomorrow and a possibility of another inch tomorrow night. The freezing rain kind of looks like it went away, at least of a threat to our local area, which is great news for us. Tomorrow night's low temperature is still going to be around 30 degrees, a little bit warmer than we've been dealing with, but cold enough to freeze all the roads again tomorrow night. For Public Works, roads shops, we'll pre-treat a lot of the roads today and tomorrow morning before the weather gets here. We'll also attempt to get the county parking lots. We've done that a couple times in the last few weeks with our equipment. We've gone around and pre-treated, try to keep the lots halfway from getting iced over. Just for your background information on what we do in Public Works, the supervisors usually come in about 3 a.m. and start running the roads. And then they start working with the school district bus garages to figure out if they're going to be on a 2-hour delay, or no school at all. And then they start calling their crews in, early as 4 or 5 a.m., depending on the road conditions. The last few weeks, most of our crews have been coming in early and often. We did have one incident last Friday dealing with a snow plow. Unfortunately, on Latte Road, which is off of Butte Hill, off of Lewis River Road in Woodland, we had a low impact, no injury plow versus car. And there'll be a tort claim coming in on that one, but it was very low speed, but still, they do happen this time of year. It's unfortunate, but probably won't be the last tort claim we get this season. So we'll be out there today and tomorrow and Friday. And, if the weather continues over the weekend, of course, we'll have crews out Saturday and Sunday, but we're hoping to get back into the 40s over the weekend. So just back to normal rain. And hopefully we'll continue to have good HVAC systems working. Savannah kind of jinxed us last week by saying we've had no complaints, but it's
I'm gonna ask the
continued.
question, but I didn't want to jinx you. You brought it up, so it's on you.
Any questions before we move on to facilities?
Nope.
I'll bring Savannah up for the annex proposal.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Savannah Clement, Public Services. The first item I have is you actually approved it last week, but I made a mistake and did not have anyone sign it. So today I'm asking for authority for Commissioner Rick Dahl to sign the annex proposal, which I received head nods on last week. And then I believe, Commissioner Farrell, you have a copy with all of the, I'm sure, stack of paperwork you got while you were out. But if you wanted to look at it beforehand and we sign it at the end, that's fair. Okay, okay. So my request is for authority for Chairman Dahl to be able to sign this proposal first.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll bring that up when I pass out my next document, which relates to, oh, thank you. Can I have one? Thanks. So we had talked last week a little bit about annex. This proposal is going to really kickstart at the second floor construction, will design and then hopefully very quickly to follow construction. And so what I wanted to do is put together just a really high level proposal of kind of where we're at on the first floor annex. You know, with this project, gosh, I hate to say this out loud, 6 to 8 months ago, when board kind of gave us this, maybe longer, gave us direction to start moving Office of Public Defense into the annex building and kind of dissolving the lease that they are currently paying, which is approximately $85,000 a year. To start moving them into the annex, we did just that. And at the time, it wasn't a budgeted project like we would normally have, you know, on a planned project. So we came up with kind of some high-level costs of what we think. This is just for the first floor. I've started the second floor, but I wanted to use some of the accurate costs from doing the first floor construction to determine our second floor costs, which will be much more because of the complexities of building actual offices in the previous COG space. So this is just a piece of it. It is only for the first floor, and you can see we anticipate spending approximately $165,000 getting that ready to go and upfitted for OPD. And they will be occupying the what we call the compass area, which if you're looking at the front of the buildings on your right-hand side, and then they will also be occupying the old noxious weed area, which is on the left-hand side. We're fortunate in the first floor in that office space already exists. So a lot of those construction costs that we'll be seeing on the second floor, we won't be experiencing because of that. The reason that I'm here, not only to give the board a proposal, or excuse me, a budget proposal, but there is one item that came up that was not on our initial scope, which is the replacement of the windows on that first floor. That was not included in just trying to get them in. It is something that's come up as a potential security concern. And because it wasn't on our initial plan, I did, actually Ian volunteered to come and kind of talk about the need for replacing the windows in the annex. So if you want to hear from Ian. While he's getting set up, the proposal to replace the windows on the first floor, we only have one proposal, but for now, it's approximately $68,000 to do all of the windows on the first floor using a storefront design, and then also getting an egress window in the northeast corner, which I anticipate we'll need either way. Whether we move forward with all window replacement or not, we'll need to have that egress window in there for emergency exit, fire exit, et cetera. So.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Yes, this was something as we've gone through that building numerous times, I started becoming a little bit more of an advocate for. The Commissioners could take a look, obviously, at the building when you walk around the back side of it. It's a very hidden space on the back side of the annex. It's actually a walkway, maybe 3 feet wide, but with a huge embankment to the back side of it. So it's a very hard area for anybody who's trying to secure the building, or even overnight when no one's there, keep eyes on what's going on back there. And currently what exists are these have to be 50, 60-year-old windows that are just a wood pane design, wood spine with single pane glass with a latch on the inside. Picture your oldest style window, and that's what's going on that first floor. So when OPD does take over that office space, we're going to have laptops at everybody's workstations that we already have in our current office, on top of file cabinets full of confidential information, office equipment, scanners, copiers, all sorts of things that if somebody had secrecy, which they would have on the backside of our building, they could simply push out one of these panes of single pane glass or even break it, reach in, undo a latch, and it would be a door into our office. So the security aspect of it is what first kind of piqued my concerns. There's also the energy issues. We joked about the HVAC system, but if you stand by one of these old windows, you can feel a breeze through it. So we're going to be cranking up the heat just to keep the offices warm. They are not insulated, they're not double pane, they're not anything that would keep the heat in. So just trying to think of ways to proactively, while we're moving in, secure the building, keep it cost effective as far as the energy for keeping it warm, and again, keeping it secure from a break-in. Talking to folks that were there when it was COG, even on the second floor, they had a break-in. And there's actually one window that clearly was already broken, and currently now it's just a pane of wood that's replaced that entire window panel. So unfortunately, it's an older building. It's going to need upgrades along the way. This is just one that's kind of becoming more glaringly apparent as we prepare to move into it.
So what are you proposing to upgrade it to?
That's where I fail. It looks like there's already been a couple bids or conversations about what type of windows, but anything that would be an improvement on security and insulation, I'm agreeable to. I'm not looking for high-end windows or anything fancy, but just something that couldn't easily be.
Has anybody checked with the PUD to find out if there's any conservation dollars available for that building?
So we did do walkthroughs of the PUD prior to the water damage that we experienced and looking at lighting upgrades, and we're looking at doing potential window rebates as well. I only know a little bit of information about the PUD rebate system from the residential side. One caveat, it could potentially be that once you sign up for the PUD rebates program, I think you get a one-time, one and done, I think over 25 years. So if we were to just do the first floor, we potentially could miss out on the opportunity of doing the other two and second and third floors, getting that rebate if we use it all on the first. So we will look into that further. I talked to Jason Thomas, our project coordinator, on that exact same topic to see if we would still, as a commercial office building, be subject to that once every 25-year rule. So we're looking into that. It's a possibility. I just don't have a great answer. That's a good question. I'll find out.
Okay. As far as the quality of the windows go, you don't know if you're talking double pane, triple pane, or security glass, or?
They're not security glass, they're the storefront vinyl. We also got a bid just for like a regular residential vinyl, assuming we thought it would be cheaper. It's actually, I think, not that much cheaper. I think it's a difference of $5,000, $5,000 to $8,000 overall. So going with a storefront, it would be like the black trim, just like that would match the doors. They're out front there. It's just a nicer, cleaner look. It doesn't have the, the white vinyl, like kind of like the residentials look like. It'd be more of a commercial look, but it doesn't have any heightened security features. It's not bulletproof. It's not something that's really style elevated. So we just, before we went and spent a lot of energy on getting more bids and looking at other options, we wanted to make sure, with the project budget being what it is, that the board was in favor of us even going that direction first. So that's kind of what we're here to ask is the board in favor of us going down this road? We could do additional research with PUD and see what they would offer, get more bids if we can, and then go from there and come back.
So currently, we're just talking about the first floor.
That's correct.
And the plan is we're wanting to do the second and third floor windows also.
Well, eventually, they're also original, most of them, to the building. So eventually, they're all going to need to be replaced probably in the next decade, and, assuming there's money available.
Yeah, for sure, probably the second floor, since there'll be housing people there at a certain point, but third floor is still used for storage. We're not looking for an answer today. If you don't feel comfortable giving one, since it's right next door, feel free. We can give you a quick tour, look at the facility, look at what's been done so far, look at those windows. And then we can come back next week and see if you guys are wanting them. Let's move forward. That 68,000 is a holding spot for now because it is only one quote. We have to go get more, and depending on what degree we want it.
Any windows on the first floor that might be accessible to somebody from the outside if it was left open by accident or whatever? You have an alarm system hooked to it or some type of indication?
Yes.
Yes.
We
I hesitate to say that in a public meeting, but yes, it would be
we've
possible.
updated that facility's motion detectors
Yes.
just in the last month.
Okay.
But if it's left open, it's accessible.
Uh, The thoughts I would offer on it is right now we pay 85,000 a year to house over in there that we're not gonna have.
Correct.
So this is a long-term solution for OPD. So you need to, in my opinion, you need to do it right. We're gonna recoup what we put in there probably in 5 years or less.
Correct.
And it's a long-term solution. So I would just suggest that we do it pretty right, so we're not keep going back.
Do it all and get it over with.
Yeah, we just, when you realize that we could still be sitting over the other place and be paying this out and we don't get anything for it, I'd rather put it in this building because we're gonna recoup it and we get it back.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's like so many things. If you're gonna do it right, because it ends up costing you more in the long run
Yeah.
if you don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'd, what I'm telling you is just don't go out and get something to get by, get something that's gonna last you a while, because they're gonna be there a while.
Well, and I would question if you're only planning on doing like the first and the second floor windows, if the third floor windows are not done, even if it's just storage, how much heat loss do you have for not doing them?
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, and Sean had brought it up earlier, and I forgot to include it on here in my notes, but over the last 5 years or so, the county has invested a significant amount of money in that building with the new roof and the new HVAC system. I mean, so
Roof, the
to your
HVAC,
point,
we
mhm,
put a lot of money over in that building,
Correct.
so I think it'll last us for quite a while.
Yeah.
But, so let's just do it right and make sure that we have what we need.
Great.
I think it's a step in the right direction. Obviously, our buildings are something that are an issue. And if, particularly with the annex, if we have decided that we're gonna invest money in these systems, then let's invest money so that we have a long-term investment that we're gonna get a good ROI out of over the next 20, 30 years. So I think it's good.
all right, we'll come back and we'll have more quotes and then we'll go from there. Perfect. We'll just bring Ian to all of our meetings and have him.
Wow.
Thanks, Ian.
Be careful on the fancy stuff you ask for your office. Ian.
Right? Thank you.
Thanks. Talking about investing money, the next item, a skylight. You may have not looked up, or maybe you have, right between the restroom here on the second floor and your, or third floor in your office.
Flag hangs?
Yes,
Yeah.
there's 15 glass panels above there, and one is shattered. And so since we're getting ready to go out to bid for the roof replacement of this facility, we got a quote to see if we're going to fix it at the same time or what we're going to do. So the first quote we got back was to fix that one panel was $26,000 plus tax.
Jesus, what kind of glasses?
That's it, we're using that one. That's just the first quote we got. And mainly because of the setup for them. To replace all 15 units was $47,000. So it was like only 20 grand more to do all 15 compared to 26 plus tax for the first one.
Are those single pane windows basically right now?
I'm guessing they are. They're not double? Okay. I know they leak because you can see on the side of the wall coming down, there's black marks. The seals around the windows in front of the BOCC office are stained. So our thoughts are two different ways. We can continue down the path and replacing skylights there or cover that section up when we do roof, not with the roofing material, but why we're added onto our quote or bid out there. It would darken up that area, of course. And so we could certainly add additional lighting there. If you want the natural light, we can go this direction, go get additional quotes. Our thought was maybe next week is when we get better weather is to roll a tarp over the top of that to see how dark and how bad it looks in that hallway or that area. And if it looks like it's too dark, we can certainly come back to you guys and see if we want to do glass panels or if, and if it looks good, if we just add some other lighting in that area around the flag pointing down, maybe that will be good enough. But it was a little shocking to see that first numbers come in and how expensive it was to do that. So, skylights in the Northwest usually aren't the best. Over time, they are going to leak, but it is quite expensive fix for us.
Does that skylight doesn't go all the way down to the first floor?
It shines down to the second floor.
It does?
Yeah. So there's quite a
Was
bit of
that-
natural light coming through there.
Except, what part of the building was added onto? Was that, did they probably create that when they added on to the building?
I think it was the seventies. There was a larger upgrade of this building in the seventies, and we think that's when it was
When it was done.
installed.
Yeah.
So do we just have like big birds falling out of the sky that broke it?
We don't know. No one reported to us is we actually, I think Sean actually noticed it one day when we were looking at the rooftop unit here and he goes, hey, that one's shattered. And sure enough,
So is it still in place?
yes, it is. Shattered in place. Yes.
Okay.
So take a look when you get a chance. And then, like I said, next week, if you don't
Yeah.
mind, we're going to cover it up and see how dark it gets there.
It might be good to, I know skylights are, we're in the Pacific Northwest. It's not an easy thing to keep up on. So I'm just wondering if you did cover it up and you put some lighting in there, if you could recreate pretty much what you have. I don't know.
Change it
Did you
to
notice?
solar panels and then put the lights.
But don't
underneath
play-
it.
Yeah.
Let the solar panels take care of it.
We don't know,
No idea.
or how long it's been.
Yeah, how long it's been? It might have been a year or two. We
I don't
just
think
have
I've
no one noticed it.
Never looked up. Yes. Yeah, it's hard because it's, my gut and response is, keep it, it's natural light, it looks nice, but there's not really a, other than that feeling of, aesthetics, it's just not a great cost reason to, for that cost, so it's hard.
So what's if we do decide to just close the hole and when we do the roof, what does that cost us to just close the hole?
We don't know yet. We were trying, that's why we want to cover it first to get an idea from you guys. If that's the direction we want to go, then we can go out as like option A or B when we go out for quote for the roof, or maybe it's a separate contract.
Okay.
Well, I know I'm just speaking for myself, but when I walk out of the office, I'm looking at the windows on either side of the building.
Yeah.
I don't even know that that's there
Oh.
until I get right in front of
Right,
it.
yeah.
So I don't know that we would have a significant loss of natural light if we did cover it, if it was more economical.
I believe the plans that staff gave our team to possible remodel the BOCC lobby area, talked about removing some of the windows. So some of the natural light may not even be going into your office either way. Great, thank you.
Okay,
We'll get back to you on that, but we'll cover it up and see where we're at.
okay.
That's all we have. I believe HHS may be here for items for Tuesday also, if you guys have time.
She's got a thick stack of paperwork.
It's not just Tuesday, that's the rest of the week.
Just Tuesday. Gina James, Health and Human Services. Yes, with no Monday meeting, I just wanted to pop over and connect. We have 5 items on the agenda for Tuesday. These are items we've talked about before, but I just wanted to do another touch base before they actually hit the agenda. So we have our 3 coordinated entry contracts on the agenda. So it's one contract with Family Health Center, with Emergency Support Shelter, and with Community House on Broadway. And those 3 are all for coordinated entry services. And then the 2 other contracts we have is with Emergency Support Shelter for their shelter operations. This is the one that has the match component included in there. And then we also have a contract with Housing Opportunities for Southwest Washington. This is the contract for services at the Phoenix House, where they're housing individuals and their children who are coming out of substance use disorder treatment, helping them get stabilized in the community. So those are the 5 contracts we have on the agenda. I did reach out to Housing Opportunities. We're looking at some dates in March, maybe that they can come and kind of share some more information for that. So those are the 5 items I have for Tuesday.
Gina, on the ones, I'm not sure what they're called, but the ones that we are utilizing for the coordinated entry, do they each get the same amount, or is there a variance in what they receive based on certain factors?
Yeah, they're slightly different. 2 of them are around 25 well, one's at 25,000, one is 27,900, and one's at 40,000. And so we have adjusted that from the last few years, kind of just looking at utilization of their previous awards, the traffic they get from coordinated entry, and have adjusted that. So it's a little bit lower this time around than what we've have contracted out in years past, because of that.
So we just take the community house. We have
Mhm.
multiple contracts with them for the different services that they offer. That
We just have one contract with Community House.
And that's this one,
Mhm.
coordinated entry.
Yep. We had a second one that was supporting some of their construction and rehab for the youth shelter. That one ended in December. So this is our only contract with
Do we have
Community House.
multiple contracts with other like entities? Do they have to contract with us for the different services that they offer? Or do they just get a contract that's all encompassing for the services that they give?
So we have two contracts, for example, with Emergency Support Shelter. Both of them are ones we're talking about today. So one contract is for coordinated entry, and it's a separate contract for shelter operations. And we've done it that way. Our contract for shelter operations has been, it's a contract we've had with them for a number of years. The coordinated entry has been newer in the last few years. But there's different kind of guidelines and parameters and different things. So it's a little bit cleaner to just keep it separate so we can kind of distinguish between like, okay, these are the requirements and responsibilities for coordinated entry. Separate from that, this is different for shelter operations.
Do we have a mechanism that we're able to, for lack of a better word, audit what they are doing with the funds that we give them? Or do they just say, hey, we need it for this, and then they get it?
We establish a budget in their contract, so there's typically a line item for like personnel costs, there might be a supplies line item, there might be a admin or indirect amount as well. And then they have to submit invoices to us each month, and they request reimbursement for those particular categories. When we do an audit or a monitoring on the providers, that's what we're looking at is, okay, you've submitted reimbursement for this amount for supplies, show me what you bought, and we match up what they've purchased to make sure one is eligible for the funding, that it matches what they submitted reimbursement to us for. We don't ever give funds up front, so it's always, they have to expend the cost and then request for the reimbursement afterwards.
Okay. And do you, as far as the budget goes, when they create the budget and bring it to you, is that
Mhm.
negotiable? Do you say, hey, this is a little bit high, you
Mhm.
need to adjust it and fix it before we're gonna move forward?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. And we did do that a little bit this round with, we had issued a RFP for coordinated entries when they submitted those proposals and had a budget included. And we did do a little bit of negotiating in there and brought some of the line items down a little bit, kind of like I mentioned about the utilization and just looking at what kind of traffic they've seen and kind of right sizing it for what they've been doing.
Good, thank you.
Didn't we have a fourth put in for, I want to say cap?
Yes, we did. I'm still in conversation with them and just kind of looking at budget and programmatic components.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're doing exactly what I just.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect, good.
Yes.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any questions other than I know we had asked to have Oswald come in, but it
Mhm.
sounds like you're working on that, so that's good.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Hope you have a good long weekend.
Well, we do have Monday off, right? Yeah,
God, what holiday is it now?
yeah.
Does it never end?
It's President's Day, I think, yeah.
President's Day?
I thought it was Valentine's Day, but. that's
Friday
this
is
week.
Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. Already got it offered, they'd been planning something or that, right? Somewhere somebody would come up with a way that we get Valentine's Day off too.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple miscellaneous things we need to cover. We set up at, I think Commissioner Mortensen was the one that suggested it, so last year, anytime we travel, it takes approval from us in a public meeting. And which is way different than I ever lived in. Usually I was given a budget, and as long as I stayed in the budget, we were good, but it's a little different. So I know, I think both of these are risk pool conference travels. And so we just have to, I mean, and I'm certainly okay with it. I know.
Those are the ones in March, in March?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
So we're all okay with that?
I'm
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Is that what you needed? Okay. The other, we had those two proclamations. Did you have a chance to read those
I did.
through? And what do you want to do with them? I'll just offer an opinion. The one I didn't really, the first one I didn't care for because I like the emergency support shelter. I don't have any trouble with them, but when they start giving me facts or giving me data that they're quoting as facts, I always want to know where it comes from before I sign my name to
Mhm.
it. So I struggle with that one a little bit
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
The other one is pretty generic. You know, I don't have any problem doing them. I think when we open that up, since the county hasn't done them for a while, we're probably gonna see more and more, but
Mhm.
if we want to just keep taking them case by case, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I think case by case is good. As I read through the ones that were sent to me, personally, I think it's just fluff, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
nothing to them. And they don't really mean anything to certain, demographics within in our society, but they mean something to the people who submitted them. And I feel like with the polarization that we have in the political scene today, anything that we can do to just make people feel good about whatever they're involved in or whatever they're doing to bring people together, that there's no harm or foul any one way or the other, and it doesn't cost us anything, I'm good with it. So,
I'm gonna be a little more cautious about. I almost want to say I don't care if I make them feel good or not, but some of those things, I agree with you. Some of them that if it's icing on the cake that doesn't cost us anything and potentially helps a certain demographic without us being directly involved in it, I'm not opposed to it.
yeah. I personally think it should be that way every day, all the time. You know, we should treat each other and have those things at the forefront of our actions and our thoughts, but whatever. I'm good
Yeah.
with it.
So we got two of them out there. What do you think of emergency support shelter?
I'd leave it alone personally. What do you want to do with it?
I agree with you, Rick, as when I went through and looked at it, not to say that the figures aren't correct or, you know, but there's definitely an effort to, you know, make us feel good about approving it, to show us results, if you will. So I'm good with it. I'm good with moving forward with them.
Go ahead with it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not drastically opposed to it, but I'm not, I'm really neutral, I guess, is what I
Yeah.
want to say. I'm extremely neutral on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting on the fence. An argument either way would push me off, but right now yeah.
Okay.
I'm good with moving forward.
It doesn't cost us anything to put our name on
No.
it, I guess.
Same with fair housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would ask that the entities asking for these prepare them. I don't want to put that burden on our staff to do these things up.
Yeah, I agree.
Are we good with that?
Mhm.
Okay, so,
I mean,
Right.
Rick, you've been a commissioner for 2+ years now. Do you see any drawback to going with them?
you know, the only drawback is just what I stated. I get cautious when they start throwing out numbers because I want to know their accurate numbers. I don't
Yeah.
want to be telling people that, yeah, this really is this when I don't know.
Don't want to defend numbers that you.
That I don't,
know.
that I don't
Yeah,
know.
we can't back them
The
up
one-
ourselves.
Right.
The
Yeah.
fair housing one is pretty generic and I have no issue
Yeah.
with that. That's the only caution I ever.
Yeah.
brought. And I agree with you guys. I think it means something to the entities. I don't think it means something, I mean, we support emergency support shelter 365 days a year. There's not a day I don't
Yep.
support it, but. Okay, that's what we'll do then. And then do we have an executive session, Shelley? Or? Okay. We will go into executive session for litigation. 20 minutes. Okay.
Board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 3:02 PM.
Okay, we're back from executive session. No decisions rendered. Did we have some other?
Yes,
business?
I'd like to call an executive session for performance of a public employee.
Time frame,
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay. So we got, we'll go into executive session, performance of a public employee, estimated time 20 minutes.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 3:36 PM. board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 3:43 p.m.
Okay, back from executive session, no decisions rendered. Unless there's any other miscellaneous, I don't believe there is. We will adjourn. Thank you.